Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to everyone. Uh, Now we continue with what we have last week. Yeah, this is the question number 4. Our discussion question number 4. What are the differences between qualitative and quantitative? As you can see from the table there, so I put in the table form, there are 4 main differences. Yeah, could be other differences as well, but what I'm going to discuss here is 5 differences. On the left side is the qualitative one, and on the right column is the quantitative one. Okay, so we have number 1 in terms of how this one is about the philosophy. How do they see the world? Yeah. So what is reality? That question. So qualitative multiple quality, quantitative single reality. And then we go to number 2. Okay. Qualitative is to inquire about something, in-depth examination, in-depth research. In quantitative is on the substance, the breadth. Yeah. Okay. And then this one is inductive. This one is deductive. Okay. What about the sampling? Purposive versus random. Okay. And then contextual versus generalization. Okay. Now we're going to discuss one by one. Okay. All right. So again, we go back to the question of the philosophy. As you can see here, okay, the one in the middle is the qualitative one. Positivism is the qualitative one. Yeah. So the answer to that questions, what is the difference between quali and quanti in terms of philosophy regarding the question, what is reality? So you can see how the qualitative research see the world. So in terms of reality, it is multiple reality. For positivism, it is single reality. And what do we mean by that? Yeah. All right. So the easiest way is to show you this diagram. Yeah. To show you this diagram. Okay. This is the qualitative paradigm. Yeah. There are 2 persons looking at the same object. Yeah. The number. What number is this? Yeah. If you are standing here, you know, like this person, he says it is number 6. Yeah. If you are standing here, yeah, you would say it is number 9. Why? Because, you know, the number is depending on the position where you are, number 6 or number 9. All right. So this is multiple realities, multiple truths. Both are correct. Why? Because they are standing, they are saying that based on where they are standing. So this is multiple realities, qualitative. Okay. For quantitative positivism, yeah, okay, only this person is correct. Yeah. So probably because the person is the one which is more respected. Yeah. So you have to accept his opinion. Yeah. So in terms of data collection, so you know, we can relate to the data collection. Okay, the data collection. Okay, so whenever you collect the data in qualitative way, okay, and you are collecting responses, you know, conducting interview, and then you get the responses from your informant, okay, and they will tell you their own story based on their own perspective. So we regard their perspective as true, yeah. So multiple truths, yeah. So they are, you know, based on their own perspective, okay. Whereas in quantitative, in quantitative, you have to decide which one is the reference. Okay, so that's why. So whenever you do a quantitative study, you must have your own reference in terms of theory, and then you have hypotheses. So that's guide you on how your research looks like. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. Now we go to number 2. So number 2 is the nature of qualitative and quantitative. They are different to each other. So you see, okay, you can see here, from here to here, okay, it is the breadth, yeah, and then from here up until here, it is the depth. All right. So you can see for quantitative, the size of sample is probably hundreds, yeah. So very large in terms of sample size, yeah. But for qualitative, the sample size is very, very small, But although it is small, it doesn't mean it is not valid, yeah. So what we do is, in each of the informant, we interview them hours and hours and hours, yeah. So many, many times. So that means we must get as much data as possible from them, yeah. So this is qualitative, yeah. So based on the depth of the information, and this is quantitative based on the breadth of the information. Okay, now we go to number 3. Okay, inductive versus deductive. Okay, as you can see from here, what do we call this? This is hill climbing. Yeah, there is a road here leading you to the peak of the mountain. Okay, so hill climbing or mountain climbing, yeah. And in the other picture on the right, okay, what do you call this? It is a waterfall. So the water runs down from top of the hill, down hills like this. Okay, this is the analogy of inductive versus deductive. Okay, let us go to the next, the next slide. Okay, this is hill climbing. As you can see from the left, there is a picture, a road leading to the top of the hill. Okay, and this is the road to the top of the hill, and this is what we call inductive. Yeah, and inductive is the qualitative one. Yeah, so the way you do your research is from bottom, and you go up until top of the hill. All right. First, you do your observations. That means you collect your data, and from the data, you try to look for patterns. Okay, so you categorize the data, and after that, you look for themes, and after that, you can see the patterns. All right, and from there, you can build a tentative hypothesis, and from there, it becomes a theory. So this is qualitative. Okay, what about the quantitative one? So quantitative one is the other way around. So this is the waterfall. Yeah, so the water flows from top of the hill, to the bottom of the hill. Yeah, so you start from the theory first. In order to do your research, you have to refer to the relevant theory. And from there, you build the hypothesis. Yeah, and from there, after you after you design your own objective and so on, you make data collection. Observation means collecting data. and after that you get the result, and then from the result you compare with, the theory, the hypothesis. So there is a confirmation here. So that means you start from the top, yeah, and after that you make confirmation. So deductive, yeah, is quantitative. Deductive reasoning works from the more general to the more specific. Okay, so from the top here. Sometimes this is called, informally called a top-down approach, because it's from the top, yeah, to the bottom one. Conclusion follows logically from premises. Yeah. Okay. So that's the difference between the two in terms of whether it is deductive or whether it is inductive. Okay. Yeah. So there is a difference between qualitative and quantitative. Okay. In Quali, because our approach is different, when we do our research, we look for informants who have experience, who can articulate their experiences. So it is non-random because we deliberately look for them. Okay, so we don't choose them non-randomly. Yeah. Okay, there are some terms to describe this. Yeah. Okay, so in qualitative we use purposive. So that means, the way you choose your informant based on your purpose. Yeah. We use criteria sampling. The way we choose our informants based on the criteria that we have stated before. Okay. We use snowball sampling. Snowball sampling means we ask, the first or the earlier informant, the first few informant, to recommend other potential informants. So that's snowball. Okay. For quantitative, okay, the random selection is highly appreciated. Okay, and the example of the random sampling is, first is simple random, second is the clustered sampling, stratified sampling, systematic sampling. Right? Okay, so now let's go to this explanation. The qualitative sampling is like fishing. So you are a fisherman, yeah? Fishermen cast their line into likely fishing holes. So that means they look for it. They don't just, put their lines anywhere they like. They have to see whether, that fishing hole has many fish. If there are many fish there, and then they fish there. Yeah. Okay. So just as fishermen cast their lines into likely fishing holes rather than randomly select places to fish, so qualitative researchers deliberately, you see, okay, this word is highlighted, deliberately. That means on purpose. Yeah, you select the participants based on this. Yeah, yeah, because they will give you rich answer to your questions. Yeah, you are fishing there because there are many fish there. Otherwise, you wouldn't go there. Okay. Qualitative researchers are also like medical consultants. Yeah. So whenever we are sick, we go to them, and where to go based on their expertise. Yeah. Okay. A medical consultant is consulted due to his expertise to solve a medical problem. We do not need to seek the average opinions of physicians. In qualitative study, interview is conducted to gain insight from participants who are resource rich, just like a medical consultant. Yeah. In quantitative, it's like, you know, you go, you are sick, and then you go to many doctors, and then you get the average opinion from them. In qualitative, first you have to know the type of sickness that you are suffering, and after that you go to the one that specialize in that. Okay, so that's the analogy of the qualitative research, where the person who can explain the phenomena is the one that you are looking for. Yeah. And then in terms of sampling, you know, there are differences, Quali and Quanti. Quanti is in the red background, Quali is in the green background. Yeah. In Quanti, the aim is for generalization. So that means you only access a few hundred respondents, but you make the generalization for the whole country. Okay. Okay, number of respondents depends on the statistical rule on generalizations. So normally students refer to Krejci and Morgan to see how many respondents. What is the sample size? You know, if the population is 10,000, yeah. What about the size of your sample? Yeah, how many? So you refer to that table. In qualitative, you are not for generalization. Yeah, the main thing is to understand deeply, to have in-depth understanding. So in order to explain that, you don't use numbers, but you use words. So that's why in our report, we have to insert, yeah, not information, quotations that support themes in your research. Okay, and in terms of number of participants, yeah, it is cannot be predetermined. You cannot say that in my proposal I suggest that there will be 10 informants. Yeah, so normally it is not determined because you actually do not know how many of them. Yeah, until after you collect the data. You know, if you interview first participant, second participant, third participant, okay, and after the 8 participants, there is no more teams emerging. There is no new teams, yeah, and after that, only you can decide, you know, whether to stop or probably to interview 1 or 2 more just to confirm whether are there any new themes emerging in your research. Yeah. So number of informants depends on the recurrence of themes. Yeah. So until you have interviewed, people, only that you know whether you have to continue or not. Yeah. So the number not before you do your interview. Okay. So this is the the question normally asked by quantitative researchers. Your n is so small, your sample size is so small, so your research is not valid. Yeah, that's what they are asking. Yeah, so our answer is, although the sample is small, the sample size is small, but it has big impact. Okay. There are many examples of scholars in the past. Although their respondent is small, the size sample is small, but they have big contribution to our scholarly world. Okay, you can see the example here. First is Piaget contribute our understanding of how children think. Yeah, and the observation is only on 2 children, so the n is 2. Yeah, okay. If you get this slide, you can click in here, so that there is some information. Yeah, this is a video and this one is website, so you can read more about Piaget. Bandler and Grinder founded NLP, neuro-linguistic, yeah, by studying 3 therapists. Okay, the N is only 3. Peters and Waterman formulated 8 principles of organizational excellence by studying 62 companies. Yeah, only 62. You know, but the writing is so popular. Yeah, almost everyone cites the example from Peters and Waterman. Okay, Claiborne Park studied her daughter autism for 40 years. Yeah, every stage of her development. But what about the sample size? Only 1. So although it is only 1, but you know, the researcher spent 40 years in order to understand the situation. Yeah. So although the sample size is only 1, it makes a big contribution. Yeah. All right. So these are among the sample, the type of sample used. I'm not going to play this because I already make some note here. Okay, just see the video. All right. Okay, so qualitative sampling. So there are purposeful sampling, there are theoretical sampling, okay, convenient sampling. All right, so we go to purposeful sample. Purposeful sample is sample of participants that were purposefully recruited in order to fully answer the research questions. Okay, so that's the purposeful sample. Yeah, we look for you know, people that fulfill our purpose. Yeah, so in research we have a research purpose, and who can fulfill that purpose. So we call that purposeful sample. Okay. A snowball sample. So snowball sample, a sample of participants recruited by researchers through informant. Okay, why? The informants recommend, you know, among his or her network, the possible new informants that can contribute to the research. Yeah. Okay, and then we have other type of sampling as well. For example, opportunistic or emergent sampling. Okay, it means that sample of participants that the researcher decide to recruit during the process of collecting data. Yeah? You collect your data, and then you start to recognize there are several individuals which is potential to be recruited because they can serve your your research purpose. So we call that opportunistic or emergent sample. Okay, so this commonly occurs in the field as the researcher gains knowledge of the study and emerging themes. So this is what happens when you do your research. Yeah, from your observation, there will be some potential participant who can enrich your research, you know, by contributing what they know, and you have to ask them, you have to interview them. Okay, this one is yes, another one, a big word here, maximum variation sample. Okay, sample of participants that have a variety of characteristics of interest to the researcher. So sometimes you look for the one who can show maximum variation sample, who have variety of characteristics of interest to the researcher. Okay, so this allows researcher to maximize the diversity of information relevant to the research questions. Okay, and we also have extreme and deviant case. Yeah, a case that's highly unusual and considered an outlier. Okay, so if you want to see a phenomenon, you have also see the negative case. You have also have to see the extreme case, yeah, in order to make comparison between, you know, the one which is typical and the one which is extreme. Okay, so you have a typical case, a case that is not unusual, the case which is typical. So you try to, you know, to interview one of them in order to show, you know, the typicality of the situation. Okay, and apart from that, you also have theoretical sample, and this is normally used for grounded theory studies. Yeah, so there is a type of method called grounded theory. Yeah, so this research is just to conceptualize, you know, what try to explain things, yeah, through a grounded theory. A sample of participants who have experienced the process of interest and can help develop a well-rounded theory. Yeah, so you see things, the phenomenon, and you try to explain that using a theory. So you have to interview, and after you interview, you get some information, and the information will be the rich information that can inform, you know, the theory. Yeah, so based on their answers, you can generate a special theory for that one. Okay, so you also have discriminant sample, a sample used for grounded theory as well. Yeah, a new group of participants recruited to compare their experiences with the process of interest with the theory that was created in the grounded theory study. Yeah, so it's just for comparison. So you have to interview, uh, okay, you know, this type of individual. Yeah. All right. Okay. Now we go to uh, number 5. Yeah, the one that we had before is number 4. In terms of sampling. Number 5, in terms of whether the outcome of your research, yeah, is for generalization or just for insightfulness. It's just for contextual understanding. Yeah, as you can see here. Okay, this is qualitative. Yeah, you cannot generalize it, but you try to understand, yeah, the details, yeah, the context in details. Yeah, in qualitative study, context is very, very important. So that's why you need to deliberate on that. Yeah. So when you do your research, it is not for you to generalize to other situations. Yeah, but you can generalize if the context is similar. Yeah, so you can do that. But the main purpose is not for generalization. Okay, in quantitative study, it is for generalization. Yeah, so that's why they make sampling. Sampling is done to make it easy for you to manage your data. Yeah, so you don't have to spend a lot of time. Yeah, you only have to get access to a portion of the population. Although it is only a part of the population, because you follow exactly what's been determined by the statistical rule, So you can generalize it. Yeah. A result of a study on, for example, 300 respondents, and the population could be 1,000, 10,000, and so on. But you can generalize it, although it is from your study of 300 respondents.